Feels good to finally have the proper camera and monitor again, so let's talk about Tryp. But before we do that, let's have a word from our sponsor.
And today's video is sponsored by Maximo, the rideshare automation app that allows drivers to safely and easily accept ride requests for Uber, Lyft, and Postmates. Whether you drive for a single platform or multiple platforms, Maximo's custom settings can help you drive more efficient, less distracted, and help you maximize your earnings. It will automatically accept one trip, turn off the other apps, and when your trip is over, it will end it, open the other apps, and accept the next trip, all without you having to touch your phone. Use referral code APP60 and get your first month free when you subscribe to Maximo.
Alright, so as you probably noticed, we are looking a little clearer today, and in fact there's even a different background. That is because the monitor on my computer, which I was using to edit videos and of course record the news stories so that they looked all professional and everything, well, my old monitor went bad and I had to buy a new one, had to wait till I got paid, and now I have a new one. Ironically, all for a video that I don't need to actually record the monitor on, but you know, that's how it works out sometimes. And today I want to talk about Tryp a little bit. I want to talk about what I'm going to be doing with the company going forward and my advice to any of you guys, because I get a lot of comments about Tryp. Is Tryp the Uber killer? Is this something I should sign up for? Hey, I see you have a code. Does that mean you fully endorse Tryp at this point? And the answer is no, I don't fully support Tryp, but I'm hoping for the best. And here's what I mean by that. I am officially going to become a Tryp influencer. That means I'm going to put money down and I will be a Tryp influencer. This is probably going to be in like 5 days or so, and I will officially be invested in the Tryp ecosystem. Now, at that point, you might be thinking, okay, well, I am convinced that this is going to be the next big thing and that this is going to be a huge thing, and I'm going to start telling you, you have to for sure sign up for it. And I'm not exactly going to go that far. Now, for the record, if you want to try Tryp out with me, of course, I have a referral code now, so I, of course, would be happy that you would do that. But I'm still going to be pretty blunt with you guys that I'm not sure if Tryp is the future. I'm not sure if it's going to work out. I have to wait and see it in action. Like, yeah, I have been sold a really good story. I mean, the idea behind the product is great. But as many people have pointed out, especially because of the new, documentaries on Netflix and Hulu, both of which are excellent, by the way, that there was a little music festival called Fire that was advertised as this really luxurious thing. You could be drinking on the beach, hanging out with the women, luxury hotels, all that jazz did not actually happen. When they got there, there was bad weather, no acts, and tents, and worst of all, cheese on bread. A picture of cheese on bread went viral to highlight just how mismanaged it was. Now, here's the thing. I was actually talking to another YouTuber about this about a week or so ago. And I'm not going to name this person's name because I'm not out here to embarrass them or make you think that there's beef. This person is definitely I'm all in on Tryp. Tryp is an opportunity. You need to seize this opportunity. If you don't want to have a good, successful life, then you don't get Tryp. And you know what? I'm glad that he feels that way. I am happy that he has found something that he feels so passionate about, but I just can't get on that passionate train just yet. Because at that one point he started asking like, I'm looking for the cons. What are the cons? And I'm like, well, this could be a scam. Like, well, how is this going to be a scam? Like, what other things do you know that started out like Tryp and then became scams? And I was like, Fire, Bernie Madoff. And then he went to explain to me what Fire and Bernie Madoff, like, what the situations were behind those events. And it's like, as if I didn't know. And the answer was, yeah, okay, I know Tryp hasn't done those things yet, but the thing is, both those scams were based on a promise that there was a deal that when you put money down on, you were going to be a part of this deal. And that deal may be too good to be true. And I'm still kind of in that boat with Tryp. They haven't done anything deliberately deceitful yet. They haven't scammed anyone, Heck, for that matter, they probably have no intention of scamming. Maybe it could even be like MoviePass, where it's like, hey, you know, it seems like a great idea and it works great for a while, and then it kind of doesn't one day. And that's where I kind of am with Tryp. The deal sounds very neat, but it also sounds a little too good to be true. So at this point, you may be asking, well, then why are you putting money into it? Why are you buying into the Tryp philosophy? And the thing is, because it still sounds like a good deal. And what if it does work out? What if it does? Then I would be a little foolish to have not invested in it. I would. So here's the way I justified it to myself. You are the Apptrepreneur. You talk about apps. Now, primarily, you talk about rideshare in the gig economy because that's how you got started. Yeah, you're moving out into these other topics, but it's still going to take a while before those topics become relevant to your channel. In the meantime, gig economy, rideshare, still your main bread and butter. And Tryp is part of the gig economy scene, or at least they want to become part of the gig economy scene. So, you know what? As far as you're concerned, investing into Tryp, you know, paying the money to become the influencer, that is a business expense because that is very relevant to what I do, to what I talk about. So yeah, I'm going to take a chance on it and I'm going to hope for the best. My whole opinion towards Tryp has always been, I am cautiously optimistic. But as I told this other gentleman, when he was like saying like, you know, you guys need to stop putting out the false stories. You got to be more optimistic. You got to do this. I forgot exactly what he said. I mean, the video's out there. And I, at that point, said to him, my job is not to push Tryp's agenda. My job is to tell both sides of the story. And I think one of the reasons that I can tell both sides of the story is to actually be the influencer, to actually tell you what it's like to be an influencer and what all that entails. So being a Tryp influencer will in fact produce more videos for this channel that many of you are probably interested in seeing, especially since from the comments I've been reading, most people are definitely very, very fed up with Uber and Lyft and they want something new. And Tryp is at the very least an exciting proposition for everyone involved. You know, the biggest downside being that, of course, they're asking for money up front. So here's the thing. I know some people have already started signing up using my referral code. So for those people, I don't want to like discourage you too much. Again, this might work, but I'm telling people, be careful. I mean, it costs $200 to be a driver. It costs $150 to be an influencer. And in this situation, what I've been telling people is, unless you're willing to lose that money, don't spend it. Now, will I lose $150? It's hard to say. It really is. It's hard to say if this is actually going to work out or not. But here's the thing. I can write it off as a business expense because I run this channel. So if it succeeds, fails, it's a write-off for me. That might not be the case for you though. So you need to think about this carefully. If you have a wife or a husband, then you need to talk it over with your spouse and decide whether or not this is something you want to take a chance on, because it could very well pay off. At the same time, it could very well fail. And here's the other thing. It could actually pay off very well for a little while. And then who knows, maybe reality could catch up, because one of the parts about this whole too good to be true thing is how you collect royalties from every passenger and driver that you sign up for all of eternity. And it's like that. Something about that does not sound sustainable. And I wouldn't be too surprised if after a year or two after they get established, they say, okay, by the way, these people that you signed up way back when, we're actually not going to be paying you royalties anymore because they've fulfilled their obligation. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those referrals went away and to keep making money without driving, essentially, or even driving, is you have to just refer more and more people. So like I said, there's things about this that I'm a little sketchy about, but I want to be honest with you guys. And yeah, I will be an influencer within a week, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm okay with losing that money. You know, I've got several different businesses, several revenue sources, and I get videos out of you. So, you know, it's a business expense. You might not have that luxury. And to those of you who are super excited about Tryp, you know what? I'm glad you are. I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell the people who are, you know, very cautious. Be cautious. I know it sounds great, but don't, keep in mind, the company, they are telling you things, but they want you to know. And they can make it sound like the greatest deal in the world, and sometimes it just isn't. I mean, I'm sure there were some very, very, very smart people who decided that, hey, you know what? Let's build a Disneyland in Paris. That'll be a good deal. And while it's profitable now, from what I understand, for years it wasn't. It was like a money-losing pit for the Disney company. So you never know. I mean, you can have the smartest guys in the room and still come up with something that, in fact, I'm going to recommend a movie. In fact, you can watch it for free on YouTube. It's called Startup.com. This wonderful documentary about some guys who came up with this great website idea, brought in a lot of money, brought in this, they were on TV, they were going to the White House, all of these things. And then by the time they finally launched the website, it sucked. And it crashed almost immediately. That could be Tryp. It could also not be, though. I mean, again, it could be like a Tryp goes up and it succeeds in ways you never dreamed possible. The bottom line is we don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know which way it's going to go. The guy who is super enthusiastic about it, he doesn't know which way it's going to go. We all need to be optimistic. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope this works. I don't want it to not work, but I have to be prepared for it to fail too. And I mean, this guy also asked, like, he doesn't understand why people are so down on it. And it's like, well, it's because we've done this before. I mean, never went anywhere. Sidecar went out of business. Juno, by the way, was the best example. That is the best comparison to why people are concerned about Tryp, because Juno launched with a presumption like, hey, you're going to own part of the company, you're going to be stockholders, you're going to do this, do that. Signed up a lot of people, made a lot of money that way, bought them, and guess what? Those stock options weren't worth much of anything. Most people got $10, $15. The really hardcore drivers, the ones that put in the hours and hours, they got like 300. So yeah, there is a precedent that these things don't work out in the driver's favor in the long run, and they are right to be cautious. But again, if you are really into it, then you know what? Hey, again, good for you. I'm glad that you're thinking about the future. Just be careful. But with that said, I'm going to end the conversation there and I'm going to pass it on to you. What do you guys think? Are you going to be Tryp influencers? Are you already Tryp influencers? Are you looking forward to Tryp? Are you going to take a wait and see approach? I would love to know. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly and you get access to my exclusive patrons only blog. And as always, blame responsibly. Have a good one.